And you have to ask, are we in a culture where it really matters to kids on the street what's going on in the news? No, they can turn the TV off. So all this stuff about refugees that are still 15 years later in other areas, they don't care. They live in a first world country. They're at the point where they can turn the news off and lie to themselves and say, we live in a utopia that rose from the ashes again, and everything is great again. The world rebuilt. When really it kind of didn't. So, in summary, I know I've been rambling. Second impact happens. Mega tsunamis wipe out the southern hemisphere almost instantly. There's not much left. Coastal flooding takes out all major cities, even in the northern hemisphere, although that takes, a couple of days, flash flooding. Based on the Sele Council, the most prominent countries anymore are Japan, Kiel represents Germany, and also the USA, Russia, the UK, and France. China is kind of important too. I don't know if it's that has a full branch base, it might. India and Pakistan are just gone. The thing I think is funny is, if you actually look, they say Adam was found under Mount Markham. And if you look where Mount Markham is, it's a bit further towards the pole than McMurdo. It's on the side of Antarctica that is closest to New Zealand. So I think it's really funny that the closest industrialized, or any country that was closest to second impact's ground zero, was New Zealand. So even though Weta Workshop are such big fanboys of Evangelion, their country was wiped clean off the map. They were closest to ground zero of second impact. Flash floods would have, they're a tiny island comparatively, they would have been destroyed and raising sea levels. I don't think New Zealand is there anymore. They bore the brunt of second impact. So I think it's a little funny, but really, that's the world they live in. And the first world supports military resources, pool them to maintain order. There's still problems in the third world. It's fixed enough in the first world that a kid who's 14 doesn't need to worry about that. That it simply doesn't affect them. They can turn the TV off. As for what kind of world they live in, I think it's cool that when you're designing a near future, because when you're designing the future, you can just make up all sorts of crazy things and they fit their own world verse. And if you're doing something set in the present, it has to be accurate to the present. But it's, how do you design something that's really tricky, I think, if Weta makes a live-action film, that's close enough to us that it's only 20 or maybe 40 years from now. And it's just slightly more advanced. Everything in Nerve HQ looks like something out of, they said they based it on the Andromeda strain. It looks like a clean room in a research base. And all the really advanced stuff is with the Evas. But like when they're in Misato's apartment and stuff on the street, they've got slightly more advanced stuff, but even though Star Wars can seem like a hackneyed cliche at times, the thing I think Lucas was great for introducing was it's called used future. And the used future aesthetic is that things look banged up. They look lived in. It's not pristine like Star Trek. Things look like they've been duct taped together when they broke and to fix them, and they're functional on-the-spot repairs were made. And this looks like people live in it. Like Misato's apartment looks dirty, like she actually lives there, and there's chips and cans around. It looks more real that way. And like a beer can is still a beer can, but like TV and computers are the things that get really advanced. But like just around the house things, they don't need to have like super sliding doors that are automatic in every room. They've got regular doors. And it's just this overall design aesthetic that it's the near future, slightly more advanced than us, just a few decades. That, the subtle thing is, episode 1, you see that they use electric cars now that run on batteries. Misato steals the car batteries so they can get back to base. They've got electric cars and everything. And we already have laptops and cell phones, of course, in 1995, but they try to show in school they use them a lot more prominently. And it's not like Star Trek and look at all the gadgets I'm using. It's just tech stuff like, how fast phones and computers and even cars advance. But it's slightly, I really think Children of Men, the Clive Owen movie, did a very good job of this. Where they were showing how cars are a little different and like phones and ads and TV are a little more advanced. And there's more advertising everywhere. But it still looks like a used future and it's grungy. Of course, Children of Men was living in an apocalyptic world of dystopia, where everything is supposed to look like it's actually functioning pretty well, or like Blade Runner, I guess, where certain things are more advanced. But yet, Children of Men did a pretty good job of that, showing it's a near future where things are just a little bit more advanced than they are now. And that is the post-Second Impact world they live in. That those are the countries that are most powerful now. It doesn't really affect them on a personal level because they're just kids living in one of the reconstructed zones. And technology is a bit more advanced. This isn't Gundam. It's not about politics. I just wanted to look at this because I'm interested in this kind of thing. Now, I'm going to post this up. I know I've been rambling, but I'm just trying to do a lot of these in rapid succession rather than do none at all. So, I'm going to have to close off and say I'm pleased to meet you, and I hope you guessed my name, but what's puzzling you is the nature of my game.